Om Shrutismrutipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bhatarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavandau Punah Punah Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Beda Vibhagini Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukaro Anthakaro Vairukarastan Nivartakaha Anthakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Vidyam Karavavahay Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidya Acharyaya Nachiketase Namaha. We are in the 9th mantra of the second chapter, second valli, second section. And I will read the mantra and I will give you the connection and I will explain the mantra as Shankara has commented on that. Agnihi yata yekaha bhuvanam pravishtaha rupam rupam pratirupo bhabhuva Yekaha tatha sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupaha bahishcha. Once more I will read. Agnihi yata ekaha bhuvanam pravishtaha rupam rupam pratirupo bhabhuva Yekaha tata sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahishcha. Before seeing the meaning of this verse, I would like to read some lines of Shankara who has given as the connection to this verse. I will read that. Aneka tarkika kubuddhi vicharita antakarananam pramana upapannam api atma ekatva vijnanam akrit buddhyamanam api Anujit buddhinam brahmananam chetasi na adhiyate. Idi tat pradibadane adaravati punaha punaha aha shruti. He has given a connection. Why this verse is being uttered by Lord Death. He says, Aneka tarkiga buddhi vichalita kubuddhi vichalita antakarananam. Those people who believe logic is everything in the world. Without logic, we will not believe anything in this world. We say them logicians, but they are not really logicians. They believe anything should be in logic in this world. For them, it is difficult to make understand this Brahman without second is the only entity existing in the world. Because logicians or logic will not help in understanding this Brahman without a second entity. Logic can only work in the realm of this material world. So, if you go with the scale of logic, to understand the only entity which is the base of entire creation, we will not understand properly. So Shankara says that Lord Death has presented this verse for the sake of understanding those who believe in logic without thinking any other way of valid means of knowledge. For the logicians or for the people who believe in logic is everything in the world. Kubutti Vichalitana, one who don't think properly, Kubuddhi, one whose intellect is gone backward or in a crooked way. For them, even though the scriptures are valid means of knowledge, still they don't believe mere scriptures. They need the truth in a way that they can understand in a logical way. That means a truth which is revealed by the scriptures are enough for a person who is committed and who is a spiritual seeker. Because valid means of knowledge, pramanam in Sanskrit, the scriptures are valid means of knowledge for a spiritual seeker. He sees the scriptures as his eyes, just as eyes reveals the thing as they are. Similarly, the valid means of knowledge, the scripture, which being the valid means of knowledge, reveals a fact which is the truth of this entire creation. But for the people who believe deeply in logic and whose mind is always connected with the logic, you have been came across people who have told these type of statements. I don't believe in God because I don't see God anywhere in this world. This is how Nastikavadam, non-believers, I don't believe in a God which is not visible for my eyes. For them, simply I can say in another logic. I don't believe in grandfather's father because I don't see with my eyes, which is also logical because grandfather's father I never saw in my life. It doesn't mean that grandfather's father didn't exist. This is how logicians believe in law. For them, for the sake of understanding for their intellect, that is why he has given a beautiful connection to this verse. For the people who believe in logic and for the people whose intellect is not working in a right way, even though the scriptures are valid means of knowledge, for them it's not sufficient, it's not enough. So, for them only, tat pratibhadane, for them, those who believe in logic and those who don't believe without any logic, whose intellects are always deeply connected with something which is logically, if you prove, I will believe. For them, Adaravati Shruti, Punaha Punaha Aha, for the sake of them, see, scriptures are meant for the entire humanity, not for a group of people, not for meant for a particular religion, not meant for a particular caste. It includes the whole humanity. For the welfare of each and every human, the Shruti, the scriptures work overtime. So, for the sake of understanding for the logicians and for the people who don't think properly beyond their nose, They only believe what they see, what they smell, what they taste, what they listen. Other than that, they don't believe. For them, in a respective way, our scriptures say this verse. Even though Lord Death is revealing the truth to Nachiketas, Shankara says this verse is occurring in Kaṭha Upaniṣad. He says that this Shruti, this text, with a lot of compassion towards the humanity, this text reveals another verse which will be easily helpful for a logician to understand the ultimate goal. I would like to say few sentences apart from this. When a fact is unfolded by a text or by a book, and that fact is little bit difficult for Madhyama Adhikari. Madhyama Adhikari means those who are middle class people with their intellect. There are upper class people, there are middle class people, there are lower class people in this world. One who understand the idea immediately after one explanation, they are Uttama Adhikari, upper class people who deal with their intellectual capacity. There are medium class, middle class people. If you say them properly with an example, with some logic, the subject they can grasp after few times after explaining few times for them. They are called middle class people, Madhyama Adhikari. There are Manda Adhikari. Pure Lord's blessings only help them to understand an idea or a fact which is told in the text. You can explain 100 times towards them, still they will be looking towards your face as though they didn't understand anything. So, to cover the middle class people who uses their intellect, not completely they can't go or they can't get the whole vision in one explanation. For them, the Shruti Mada, the scripture, the mother, reveals the secret with some logic and with some resemblance examples. Here, this verse is showing some examples and also some logic to understand for your human mind. It's very important. Scriptures sometimes present some examples because human mind is limited. Most of the people are not having total IQ. They cannot grasp immediately what is told. Not everybody is an Isaac Newton. Most of them are middle class people. If they get some logic, if they get some examples, they can understand the things in a proper way. So keeping this in the mind, the scriptures itself present some logic and some examples for the sake of middle class people, Madhyama Adhikarina. for their sake, who didn't understand properly what is told by Lord Death. Remember, I want to repeat the statement again. Shruti is a hitakarini. She works in favor of each and every human. She don't want to leave anybody who comes to the scriptures. Not everybody will have the same capacity to grasp the idea. 100 people are there, for example, as audience. Not everybody will grasp in a proper way how the teacher explains the fact. Everybody have their own capacity to grasp the idea. Even though 100 people are there and listening a fact, very few will understand in first explanation. Others will take time to understand. When the teacher presents the logic, the example, covering the entire vision with the different things, then only the whole picture will be clear for the majority of the people. So, Shruti Mata, the compassion, the mother of compassion, the scriptures reveal the fact with a lot of examples and a lot of logic. Somehow, Shruti, the scriptures want to make you grasp the reality and to be freed from this death and birth cycle. That is why the Shruti Mada, the scripture, is working overtime for the listener. So, here in this verse, Shankara gives a connection for the people who only believe in logics. They don't believe the scriptures as a valid means of knowledge. They have only a measuring scale called logic. If you say something logically, I will believe it and I will take it as a fact. Something which is illogical, I don't believe on that. These are all called kutarkikaha, a logician, an ordinary logician. And also they are all called nastika. They don't believe in Lord. Why? I cannot see the Lord as I see my children and wife. So that I don't believe in a God. Nastika. He is also much less similar to a logician. Because something which is invisible for our external eyes are not existing in this world. They believe strongly. Like I told you, grandfather's father is not at all there because I don't see. If I say this logic, nobody can accept that. I am the proof for my grandfather's father. Similarly, the creation is the proof for the existence of creator. This one sentence is enough for a person who think properly, who has a great logic inside the mind regarding the creation and the creator. Leave it. Now, here the Lord Death says logic and example regarding the fact what he revealed for the sake of people who are in middle class in using their intellectual capacity. Uttama Adhikari, those people who grasp the idea in one explanation, they are called upper class people, middle class people, madhyama adhikari. Those people can grasp the idea if you give a logic or some examples. There are athama adhikari, one who don't have the capacity even after explaining lot of times to them with example and logic. Pure blessings of Lord only help them to understand the idea. Fine. So here I already read the verse. Now I will give you the meaning of the verse. Up to this, I have given the connection for this verse given by Adi Shankara. So here in this verse, it is told Agnihi. In Sanskrit, Agni means fire, an element. We know that. 5 elements are the basic ingredients of creation. Pancha Bhutani. In Sanskrit, 5 elements are called Pancha Maha Bhutani. They are the basic things in the creation. And also in the scriptures, we have evidence. In Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmanandavalli in the 2nd chapter, a clean-cut evidence is told. Tasmat va etasmat atmana akasha sambhutah akashat vayuhu vayoragnihi agnirapah adbyah prithvi prithivya oshadhayah oshadibhyo annam annat purushah. The verse continues. From that, from this self, from this Brahman, the space born first, Akashaha Sambhutaha. Whenever you listen born or birth in the scriptures, you have to equate that words into superimposed. In the self, the first superimposition happened in the form of space. From the space, Vayuhu, the air, the vital force. Vayuragnihi, the fire. From the air, the fire is born. Agnirapaha, from the fire, water came out. Adhyaf Prithvi, from the water, the earth. So 5 elements are the basic ingredients in creation. That is why we have a beautiful name for this world, Bhautika Prapancham. Why? Bhutanam Sanketam iti Bhautikam. A mixture of 5 elements. Entire creation, if you analyze any part of this creation, at the end, you will get 5 elements. For example, this body, 78% of this human body is water. 6 to 8% of this body is fire. Almost 8 to 9% of this body is earth material like zinc, potassium, calcium, etc., etc. We used to say that. Deficiency, calcium deficiency, correct? Iron deficiency. All this will come under 8% of earth. Bhumi. So, water, fire, earth, And Vayu, of course, is there, air, Vatam. Without air, you cannot survive in this world. Almost 7% to 8% air is also there in different forms. That is why eye pressure, air pressure, pressure means air. Okay. And rest of the percentage will go to this space. This body is staying in this universe in a limited space. So the mixture of 5 elements, Bhuta Sankatam, that's why Bhautika Prapancha, material universe. This world is nothing. If you divide, they will be divided into 5 elements. Mere combination of 5 elements. So here, Agnihi, fire. As an example, Lord Death told to Nachiketas, you can extend to any of the elements, no problem. For the time being, as Lord Death told to Nachiketas that fire. Agnihi yatha ekaha. In this world, fire is one. By virtue, it is subtle and it is one. Fire is very subtle and it is verily one. There is no different fire. There is only one fire. Entire universe, fire is one. Agnihi yatha ekaha bhuvanam pratishtaha. Entering to this universe of creation, this one and only fire, entering to the universe, entering to the world of creation, Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Bhabuva, entered into different forms and size. And it appeared in different forms and size. Wherever you sense warmth or heat, it is an indication of the presence of the fire. Anywhere in this world, anywhere in this world, if you sense some heat or some warmth, it means there is a presence of fire. We used to put wood inside the room so that it will be very warm. Where the winter is severe, if you have a room completely covered with wood, you don't feel the winter. You don't feel cold because the presence of the fire inside the wood will keep the room warm. Anything if you take and you feel hot or warm, it means that there is presence of fire. Even though the fire is one and only one, not only one, the only one, it is not dividable. It is not divided into 3 or 4. Agni is always one, indivisible. The fire being indivisible, But in the creation, in different things, according to the form and shape, we obtain the fire. In a gas cylinder, we get good amount of fire. We don't say the shape of the fire is cylindrical because it obtained in a cylinder. No way. Now, a piece of log we put inside the kitchen, in our stove, and we put some fire. The log of wood will slowly catch fire. We cannot say that fire is in the form of as the log were. There are different things in the world, and in everything the fire exists. In our body, we feel warm by there is fire inside. That is why we get digested properly. We can see properly. Our blood is slowly doing its work around the body. Because of the fire, fire keeps the blood without having any coat. When it becomes cold, the blood will coat. The presence of the fire in the entire body keeps the body alive. The presence of the fire in a piece of wood make the wood as a fuel. The presence of the fire in a cylinder, gas cylinder, make the things possible to cook different dishes in our kitchen. That doesn't mean that fire is in the form of a cylinder. Fire is in the form of a piece of wood. Fire is in the form of a human body. We don't say that. That is what been told here. Rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva. Even though the fire is only one in the entire universe and in the creation. But when it enters inside the creation, it will come in different forms. The one and only fire will appear in different bodies, in different fuels. Still, it is one. It is indivisible by virtue of its subtleness, by virtue of its formless. It will appear in different shapes and forms. Similarly, this example Lord Death quoted to Nachiketas. If a logician asks a question that how can one become many? How can we grasp this entire idea? So Lord Death says, among the 5 elements, fire have its own status. And this fire is only one in this creation. But when it appears to a human body, we don't consider fire is having the shape of a human body. Of course, our body have fire. That's why we have temperature. When it appears to a gas cylinder or through a cooking gas, it is not in that form of a tube or in the gas cylinder. Or if it appears in a piece of wood, we don't consider the form of the fire is in the form of this log of wood. Due to the presence of this fire, the piece of wood is a fuel now. So in the creation, There are different forms, and everybody have different shape and different mission. But due to the presence of this fire in entire creation, the fire appears to be many. If you touch a cow, cow is also a little bit warm. If you touch your filter coffee, the most favorite dish in South India, people are addicted to filter coffee. Such a tasty food. After having a breakfast in South India, they need a filter coffee. Traditional people need a filter coffee. And it should be in a very, it should be extra hot. If not, filter coffee will not be tasty. Very branded coffee powders are there, which can only used to make the filter. That there is a pot to make the filter, and a decoction is made of that. In a hot milk, it is mixed off. Whenever you come to South India, you should try once the taste of the traditional filter coffee. Fine. It is very hot. It doesn't mean that fire is in the form of filter coffee. Because the characteristic of the fire is hot or warm. Wherever there is fire, there will be some warm or hot. We come across in our life different things. So much hot, some are warm. Even the water is lukewarm water, we say. It doesn't mean that fire is in the form of water. Wherever you see warm or hot, it is due to the presence of the fire. But that doesn't mean that fire is in the form of this lukewarm water. A formless element, by virtue it is a subtle. It appears in different forms in this entire creation. Each and every shape or form is nothing but a component, the composed of 5 elements. And fire is there among them. Rupam rupam pratirupo babuva. It appears in different forms, still it is one. Like that, ekaha tatha sarva bhutantaratma. The one and only self, which is the substratum of this entire creation, which is formless and attributeless and all-pervading. This one and only Atman, the one and only individual self, Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, which is residing in the form of transmigrator, Jiva, individual self, in every life, every body, whether it is inert or sentient. This, the one and only Brahman, which is also called self, when it appears in a body, it is called a transmigrator Jiva, one who goes through different bodies, which is not true. It is due to the misunderstanding, mistaken idea. That individual self is nothing but Brahman, the one and only Brahman. In some other Upanishad, it is told, and another example, the sun is reflecting So much sunny day, very much bright. Here, we keep different pots of water, different colors, blue, green, yellow, black, different colors of water in different buckets or pot. The sun will reflect in every pot of water, and every pot will have one single sun as its reflection. Similarly, the all-pervading Brahman will appear in an ant body as an ant. In the body of an elephant, it is called as an elephant. In the body of a snake, this all-pervading Brahman is called as a snake. When it appears in a bird's body, it is called bird. When it appears in a fish body, this all-pervading Brahman is called as a fish. When a person comes from Canada, we will call him Canadian. This all-pervading Brahman is called as a Canadian. When a person comes from Norway, where the aurora is very famous in the world, we call him Norwegian. But when we know the real fact, the all-pervading Brahman is appearing in the form of a Norwegian. The all-pervading Brahman is appearing in the form of a Canadian. The all-pervading Brahman is appearing in the form of a dog. The all-pervading Brahman is appearing as in the form of a dog eater, Shwapakaha. There are people all around the world who eat dogs. For them, only one name, Chandalaha, Shwapakaha. From the olden days itself, non-vegetarian is a lifestyle. Don't try to deal with that idea, You be safe with your diet and with your food, and see everywhere whether this compassion is there or not. You be a role model for the world. You are not here to save everybody. You are not here to correct everybody in this world. We are here to correct ourselves. We are here to make compassion to ourselves. We should show compassion to ourselves. So, Lord is in the form of dog. Lord is in the form of dog eater. Lord is in the form of insentient thing like stars, sand, rock. The all-pervading self is appearing in the form of insentient things. The all-pervading self is appearing in the form of sentient things like life forms. So it's an order in the body. Any body have an order, a system. For example, our human body, 2 lungs, 1 heart, 1 nose, 2 eyes, 1 brain, 2 legs, 2 hands. All these form a beautiful order, an arranged way. This arrangement is also individual self. This all-pervading self is in the form of rules and orders. not only in the form of consciousness, the laws, the rules, the orders are also nothing but the form of Brahman. That is why we respect, we obey the rule, the laws of karma. Whether it is a death, whether it is a birth, it is the order of this all-pervading Brahman. Lord, the all-pervading Lord in the form of order, in the form of death, in the form of birth. But nature has its own way to replace with a new one when it takes something from this world. This is also a fact to be understood in our life. Nature has its own way to bring a new in the right place what is being taken by the nature. That incidents happened lot of times in the world and also personally to me. So never worry about something lost in this world, because that is also an order of Lord. So here the example is being connected with the fact. The all-pervading Brahman appears as though in different forms, even though indivisible, even though it is one without second. Mere illusion, misunderstandings, delusions cause that there are different things are there in this world. This perception is due to not understanding the reality. So Lord Death says now completely, Sarva Bhutantaratma, which is residing in each and every life forms and also in the insentient thing, that self, all-pervading Brahman, appears in different forms, even though it is formless. Inside and outside, every this one single entity is appearing in different forms, whether it is sentient or insentient. After knowing the truth, you don't need to inquire where is the Lord. Lord is in the form of different names and forms right in front of you. Lord is appearing in the form of you, in the form of consciousness. Lord is appearing in the form of stars. Lord is appearing in the form of birds. You need not to inquire where is the Lord. Once you come to know the reality, as Sri Ramakrishna told it to Swami Vivekananda, a beautiful conversation. Swami Vivekananda, this sage asked to Ramakrishna, have you ever met God? Can you see God? Ramakrishna replied to Swami Vivekananda, I see more clear than you. Lord is more visible than you, more brighter than you, right in front of me. You are a little bit having some delusion. I cannot see properly, but I can see very clear. The Lord is very clear to me. This should be the answer for a person who is enlightened through the words of scriptures and traditional teachers. You need not to inquire a Lord inside a temple or a church or a mosque. The Lord is right in front of you in the form of sentience and insentient things in the world. There is only Lord, there is only Brahman in this world. In order to make understand these logicians who are carrying different unprecedented ideas about the Lord, about the creation, for them, for the sake of their understanding, one who come to to these studies of scriptures. Not every logician will enter into the study of traditional scriptures. We are not concerned about that. We are concerned about the people who has entered inside the Suddhi, that studies of scriptures, and one who are under the traditional teachers with a lot of commitments and a lot of awareness about oneself, and also the words which is been taught by the traditional teachers. For them, this Kaṭha Upaniṣad says that even though the fire is one as an element in this universe, it appears in different forms and shape in this entire creation. So too, the one self, even though it is one without second, which is called Brahman, the individual soul, it appears in different shapes and forms in this world. By virtue of its subtleness, it's very easy to appear in different things. It can be a bird, it can be a snake, it can be stars, it can be water, it can be mountains, it can be elephant, it can be a small ant, it can be a small worm. By virtue of its subtleness, it can appear into many. One needs to understand this is the truth about oneself. We are not this human body. We are the consciousness which is giving the sentience toward the human body. That consciousness is pervading in and out of this body. That appears in different shapes and forms in this entire universe. Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Bhagischa, also outside and inside. Now, go to the next verse. I will read the next verse, but I will explain you in the next class. I will read the next verse and give you a brief understanding, the same logic. And another element is present by Lord Death. I will read the verse and I'll give you a small gist of the meaning. Vayuhu yatha ekaha bhuvanam pravishtaha rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva ekaha tata sarva bhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahischa. Once more I will read. Vayuhu yata ekaha bhuvanam pravishtaha rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva ekaha tata sarva bhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahischa. And another element is being given as an example. Vayu, vital force, the air. Of course, one among the five elements. First, the fire is presented. Now, the Vayu is presented. Same logic. Vayu, air, even though it is one without second in the entire creation. No second vital force here. Only one vital force which we call air. Even though it is yatha ekaha, even though it is one without second, bhuvanam pravishtaha, after entered inside this creation, but appears in different shapes and forms in this world. Sometimes bubbles will be coming from the bottom of the ocean. There are some air inside the conch or some shell. From there, some living beings are taking some air from the water and it exhales the air through bubbles. Certain things are there. If you put a piece of log inside the water, some bubbles immediately comes out. And in this Ishavasya Upanishad's Shruti, this Ishavasya Upanishad concludes in a beautiful way. Vayu anila mamrita mitentam basmantam shariram. Om Kritosmara Kritagum Smara. Vayu Anilam Amritam Identam Basmantam Shariram. When the body is kept in the cremation, in the fire, everything will result into the Maha Panchabhutani. Each and every element which are inside this body will resolve in its own elements. On that time, peace, please remember everybody, what are the good things done by this body? Very beautiful way. Ishavasya Upanishad says the truth behind, it's like this Kaṭha Upaniṣad, what are the things to be remembered when you are having your last time in your life and everything. Fine. So Vayu is also another element which is, even though one appears in different shapes and forms in this entire creation. When it is in the form of a fish, it can live inside the water. When it is in the form of a turtle, it can live inside the water, outside the water. When it is in the form of an elephant, it will only live in the land like a human being. But everybody have air, a vital force. The vital force, even though it is one, it appears in the form of an elephant, in the form of a fish, in the form of a turtle. Everywhere the air is there, because the entire creation is a composite of 5 elements. We know that. Similarly, the self, even though it is one, but it appears in different names and forms, like the vital force, the air appears as in this universe or in this creation. The same meaning what we have discussed by keeping the resemblance of fire. The same way we just exchange in the place of fire, you keep the air. And the same explanation will be there. We will discuss more in the next class. Om Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshadu Parjanyah Prithivi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Choparahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.